So today we're going to talk about bonds. Boring. Bonds are an alternative to stocks. They one thing we learned over the last year, they're not riskless. So bonds normally, if bonds, I think if we looked at the last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, bonds returned about a 5 or 6% return. Now, last year was the single worst year in the United States bond market since 1780. The Federal Reserve was raising interest rates. So when the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates, that's never good for bonds. But the reason I want to talk about bonds is the Federal Reserve, which has set records as far as the number of moves in raising interest rates and the amount, the percentage of the rise in interest rates has been historic in nature. And they are almost done. So I believe that, first off, if you've been a owner of bonds over the last year and a half, better times are on the way. It's been a tough 18 months in the bond market. And when the Federal Reserve hits a peak in raising interest rates, their job, and you might be wondering, so why have the Federal Reserve been raising interest rates? Because a year ago we had inflation at 9%. Their job is to be sure, on one hand, that we avoid recessions and depressions on one hand, so when things are challenging on the downside, their job is to lower interest rates to stimulate spending in the housing market. When we have inflation, their job is to raise interest rates to specifically slow the economy down and slow the supply chains down and slow inflation. Well, that's what they've been doing the last 18 months, and they've been very diligent. We could be criticizing the Federal Reserve. Should they have started raising rates more in 2021? Probably. So they've been playing catch up ever since. But we are near the end of this rate hike cycle. And right now, yields on bonds are the highest they've been in many, many, many years. So I think that if you're a bond investor, first off, if you've been able to survive or tolerate the last 18 months of seeing the value of your bonds go down, take heart. Better times are ahead. If you have money in the bank, now first off, if you have money in the bank and you haven't signed up for a 1-year CD, shame on you, because banks are paying 5% on 1-year CDs right now. But notice that they're not paying 5% on 3-year CDs and 5-year CDs and 6-year CDs, just 1 year, because the banks know that interest rates are coming back down. So they only want to commit that high rate for 1 year. But if you are an investor who needs income and wants relative safety in your investment portfolio, right now bonds are a good deal, I think. And it might get a little worse before it gets better, and I'm talking about maybe the next 30 days. But if I were a bond investor right now, I'd be excited because I think right now we can get we're going to see some good total returns, which is interest plus capital appreciation. I think there's a chance for that. Nothing's guaranteed. But clearly, if you think about, has the Fed been successful in bringing inflation down? It has. Even though inflation's been kicking and screaming, they don't want to give up the battle. We've seen inflation drop from 9% down to 4%. And I believe that it won't be long before the Federal Reserve will hit that 2% goal for inflation. So I hope the rest of your summer is good, and I hope that as we enter into the fall season, you and your family are blessed, and you have a great fall. And if you need anything, call us at Cornerstone Wealth Advisors at 540-942-1703. If you listen to the radio, tune us in on Saturday mornings at WSVA 550 AM, 92.1 FM from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Saturday mornings. Your money matters today. And if we can ever be of help to you, don't hesitate to give us a call. Have a great day.
Content in this material is for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. All investing involves risk including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss.